Hello book nerds and welcome back to Book Club. Today we are going to be discussing Artemis Fowl by Leona.Nightengale. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't think I am, but I have never read Artemis Fowl before. I've never even heard of this before. Didn't realize it was a book series. I knew there was a movie earlier, probably not earlier like in the year, but I think within the last like 4 to 5 years. I think there was a movie, but besides that, I've never heard of this series before. Didn't realize this was a book series, but I finally got around to it because I was gifted the series. So, Artemis Fowl. And it has a back of the book blurb, and y'all know I love a back of the book blurb. Alright. Artemis Fowl is a ruthless criminal mastermind. He's 12 years old. No scheme is too dastardly, no plot too devious, and he's just discovered that fairies are real. Poor fairies. But these are not gentle creatures of bedtime stories. They are armed, they are dangerous. When Artemis kidnaps elf captain Holly Short in an attempt to ransom her for fairy gold, Holly is incredibly dangerous and pretty annoyed about the whole kidnapping thing. Artemis Fowl is about to find out that fairies fight back. This book threw in so many surprises. Like, I had no idea what Artemis Fowl was about. I didn't know what the premise was, what the concept was, but kidnapping a fairy for gold? That's a wonderful concept. That's such an interesting, fun, genius story concept. And I got hooked right in. So, let's talk about the characters. We'll actually start with the characters we see on the front of the book. Of course, we have the main 12-year-old. That is 12-year-old criminal mastermind Artemis Fowl. This little person up here, that is Holly Short, the elf that gets kidnapped. This is Commander Root. That is Holly's boss. This is Butler. He is the butler to Artemis. They have this whole thing of like butlers through generations go to a special school for the Fowl family because it is like generations of criminal masterminds. And yeah, it's just insane. And we have a dwarf. His name is Mulch Diggums. I love him. He doesn't appear until later into the book, about like halfway through, but he's such a fun character and he's very interesting. I wish we got a little bit more about him, but we'll get into that with the plot. To start off the book, we have a prologue of this unknown person who is telling us about Artemis Fowl, how he's a genius, how he's a criminal mastermind, how only at 12 years old he started making enemies with the people, which is what the fairies are called. They are considered to be called the people. So he's explaining all this. He's like, here's like the first of many stories. I'm giving you this case file to look at to understand more. And these are files like made from interviews, talking to people from around the world kind of thing. So what we're reading, this book is considered a case file, which I thought was really interesting that as the reader, it's like, okay, so the narrator is someone who did their deep dive research. This is stuff that has already happened, and this has been happening for like decades at this point, which is very fun and interesting. And then we get into the actual plot of this story of when Artemis first makes contact with the fairies. And the book starts off with looking for the book of the people, the book of the fairies. And he's traveled everywhere across the country from dead end to dead end trying to find this book. He finally finds it in a city in China, and he goes to this, what seems to be like an old sickly person, but she's actually a sprite who has the book with her. So Artemis offers like, hey, I'll give you alcohol because the sprite is like an alcoholic. I'll give you alcohol and the ability to fly again if you give me the book for just 10 minutes. So she agrees to the deal. And Artemis just really quickly scans the book, just takes pictures of every page and hands it back to the sprite along with the alcohol. And the sprite doesn't think much of it because there's no way humans are able to figure out what the book says. They can't read our language, which is called Gnomish. She's like, there's no way they could figure this out, kind of thing. So then we get to the translation where Artemis goes back to his home in Ireland, and he's trying to figure out, he's putting the book through several translation programs, trying to figure out, like, is it this one, is it this one? And this is going on for like a few days before he finally gets like a crack in it Whereas like, oh hey, something similar to this is hieroglyphics that the Egyptians used, and they start seeing overlap a little bit. So he starts going full force with this, and sooner than he expected, he finally cracks the code. He figures out how to translate the book, and he translates the entire thing and makes several copies of it. This is when we get to learn a little bit more about the fairy people, which is where we get Holly. Holly is the first female fairy. Fairy is used as an umbrella term, so she's actually an elf, but she's the first female fairy to be part of the leprechauns, which is actually Lep-Recon, which is lower element police, I believe is what it is. Lower element police recon is what it is, and basically what their whole entire job is that if magical creatures like resurface, because they live underground, if they resurface up to where the mud people live, then they have to go and get them back and bring them back down underground. And because Holly has made a few mistakes, because there's extra pressure on her to be perfect, the utmost perfect possible, because she's the first female of the LEP, so she's very close to being fired. But when a troll escapes up to the mud people world, she is then on the job to find the troll, and basically she's just used as like the tracker. She finds the troll, and then the rest of the recon comes up and will take care of the troll as well. But the troll gets too close to an Italian village and starts attacking the buildings, and someone calls for help, like they cry out and help in their own language, and Holly goes down, neutralizes the troll. The rest of the recon comes up. They have to mind wipe a bunch of people because a lot of people saw an elf. They're not supposed to be seen at all. And it's this whole super cool, like, military grade, recon, tactical retreat. It's a lot of, like, military kind of stuff that you would expect if, like, this was, like, a normal, like, hey, we gotta go in for a recon, we gotta go for a retrieval, we have to track this thing down. And it's really cool. I'm really liking this. And I wasn't expecting that. So Commander Root finds out that Holly no longer has magic, and she needs to go replenish her magic by doing a ritual. The ritual is that on a full moon, you go to an ancient oak tree at a river's bend, you plant in a seed underground, and you will get your magic back. So she goes off into Ireland because like there's a bunch of ancient trees there, and that's kind of like, she kind of goes into it a little bit of how like Ireland really kind of like respects the fae folk and the mythicalness and all that kind of stuff. She's like, there's more of like a respect between like Ireland's mythology and with the actual fairy folk. So they like going to Ireland to replenish their magic, to go by the ancient oak trees there. I don't know if they actually have oak trees in Ireland. I don't know that much. I was just enjoying the book too much. So she finally finds a tree to put an acorn, because she found an acorn that's considered seed. An oak tree by the river. She's going to dig a little hole, put the acorn in, she'll get all of her magic back. However, Artemis has been staking out this specific tree at the river bend with his butler for about 4 months every full moon. And finally, Holly arrives right in the nick of time. They knock her out, and they kidnap her back to the Fowl mansion. And this is when the story goes back to the underground with the rest of the fairies, with the LEP recon team, and Commander Root is just, where is Holly Short? Where is Captain Short? Where did she go? And they realize that she's been kidnapped by a human. This could mean war between fairies and humans, because fairies don't want to be known by humans, because humans are inherently extremely greedy, and it's just going to be a mess for everyone. So they're trying to like, okay, tonight is the night that we have to go and get Holly back. So she has a tracker in her suit, and they're following the tracker. Commander Root's like, I'm going in, I'll bring her back. She's one of my team members kind of thing, despite the fact that he was just, giving her a new one when she was like a minute late to work. But anyway, so he finds out that she's on a whaler boat. He sneaks on, he uses the magic, and once he gets to where the tracker is, she's not there. But a camera, a speaker, her tracker, and a bomb is. This is where Artemis Fowl goes like, oh, hi, she's not here. You have no idea who you're messing with. And then there's a countdown, and Commander Root starts cursing in like their fairy dialect, and he starts running off the whaler boat, and the boat explodes as he's jumping off ship. And I'm like, oh my god, this book is so much more insane than I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this, because this is also a children's book. I wasn't expecting there to be bombs, this stuff being blown up, this type of like action sequence with magical creatures and humans. Like, this is cool. I'm loving this so far. This is really engaging, plus, fairly easy to read. Anyway, so the fairy people, the people just start being like, okay, who was Artemis Fowl? Who are they? What are they? Realize 12-year-old criminal mastermind. Just, they know what they're doing. They somehow have the book. They kind of have this fairy knowledge that shouldn't be known by any human at all. So it's kind of going to this full thing of like, all right, we got to bring in the retrieval team. We got to go up there. We got to find out where this kid lives. And we got to get Holly back at any kind of cost possible. Like, it's a full-on hostage situation, negotiation takeover kind of thing. I'm loving this book. So, back to Artemis and Holly. Artemis kind of taunts Holly like, I know what's going on. I know about that there's like a hostage fund. I just want gold. Like, I don't really care about like everyone else knowing about fairy people and all that kind of stuff. I just want the gold and this and that. Holly tries kind of be like, you have no idea what you're messing with. You think you know everything, but just wait until they come. But Artemis knows more than he's letting on, and we kind of get that throughout the book where it's like he has a plan, but he's not telling anyone the plan until like it's already like 3 seconds away from happening. So with that, the retrieval team comes by, they're prepared for this. The butler gets sent out, and Butler is a very competent butler. He kicks ass and literally knocks out the entire retrieval team, which shouldn't be possible by fairy human standards, but he's been training for fighting and military and all this kinds of stuff just for the sole fact that he is working with the Fowls. This is like all part of his training, is to be this type of competent. Like when I'm reading this book, I'm just thinking to like Batman and Robin kind of thing, like that level of training, that level of genius. But realistically, this is just reminding me of Damian. Damian Wayne from Batman. That's all I was thinking of, like 12-year-old millionaire criminal mastermind. It's not the same, I know that, but I can't help but make that connection because I am a big DC fan. Anyway, moving on. So the butler kicks butt. He sends off one of the elves being like, hey, go tell your commander, your captain, whoever's in charge, that we want to negotiate. So Commander Root is equipped with a secret hidden camera. It's like a eye lens, it's a eye contact. And then he goes off and he meets with Artemis. And Artemis basically says like, hey, I want gold. Give me the gold and you'll get Holly back. And if you don't give it to me, I will release the news of fairies all over the internet. And Commander Root's like, well, you can't do it. And because he knows that they put like a time stop over the area, and Artemis goes like, oh yeah, I know I can't do it now because of the time stop, and after the time stop runs out and we still can't negotiate properly, you're gonna do a bio bomb on me. Which that threw me in for a loop, is that they are just going to bomb this kid. Like a bio bomb is like, it will kill anything naturally living without doing any damage to the land. So the people, the fairies, the rats, the bugs, but the plant, the foliage, the earth will be fine. That threw me in for a loop. This is a children's book. Every time I read another chapter of this book, I just put the book down, I look at my friend, and I just go, holy shit, dude, what am I reading? This is awesome, and this is a series. If the rest of the series holds up with this, I might just binge the series. I don't know. I really like this. So Root realizes that Artemis knows a lot more than they expected. So he goes back to let them know what the kid demands, and he has experts come in to analyze the footage to figure out whether or not he's lying about, being able to escape the time stopper thing, and if he'll be able to escape the bio bomb, even if he does or doesn't get the gold. Either way, he's not going to give up Holly, kind of thing. And basically what the experts say is that he's not lying, or at least he thinks he's not lying. He thinks he's telling the truth, or he is telling the truth. We can't tell because, yeah, they just can't tell. It's awesome. So, going through with this, Root decides, like, you know what? We're going to break a few rules. If he's playing by these rules and he knows our rule book, then we're going to bring someone who has broken the rules before. So they go and grab Mulch Diggins. Mulch Diggins, which is this dwarf right here. He's a kleptomaniac dwarf who breaks into places all the time. And it's great. It's wonderful. I absolutely love this because when a fairy or one of the people breaks rules, they lose their magic entirely. Mulch has already broken rules several times to the point where he doesn't have his magic anymore. So they're like, this is perfect. We'll get this convict, we'll bring him in, we'll have him dig under the ground into the house, and we will have him steal what copies of the book they have and figure out if Holly Short is alive. Because if Holly Short is still alive, then they're not going to do the negotiations. If she's dead, they're going to, like, if Holly Short is alive, they'll continue with the negotiations. If she's dead, they're going to biobomb, is what the plan is. So Mulch Diggums digs underground in a very interesting way. Apparently dwarves in this universe can unhinge their jaw like a snake, swallow big amounts of earth to make big tunnels to get underground. And how this works is that what goes in comes out really quickly, really fast. So he goes up into the house, breaks in, finds the safe that holds the book copies that Artemis has, steals them, but because like he swallowed so much dirt and excavated it so fast, there's like a really bad gas, extra dirt, mud pileup in his stomach that he needs to release. And apparently proper dwarf protocol is to release in the tunnels, but he doesn't have time for that. He needs to steal this and get the fuck out. So but the butler realizes that someone is stealing, goes up behind him, and that's when Mulch releases and basically knocks the butler out and goes back to digging and basically giving confirmation like, Holly is alive, I have it, I have the stolen book copy, goes back to digging underground, but he basically fakes his death and goes out to freedom, which is great, amazing. I love that for him. I hope we get to see him again later. We probably will, because just look at him. Look at him. I love him. I want more of him. Anyway, Holly ends up breaking out of her concrete cell that Artemis has been keeping her in because she realized that there is in fact dirt underneath the concrete. So with her bed and everything that Artemis has given her, which is just the bed, she's been breaking into the concrete and shattered the concrete. And she has the acorn with her. It slipped into her boot when she got kidnapped. So she has the acorn. It's still nighttime. It's still the full moon. She puts it in the earth underneath the concrete and she gets her magic back. Artemis realizes this and sends the butler's sister, Juliet, who's a maid, to her and like, hey, go stop her kind of thing. But it's too late. She has her magic. And Juliet gets put under this spell. And basically she makes her think that she's watching the WWE tournament on a big screen when she's actually just staring at a concrete wall. And then Holly locks up the maid in this room and escapes her prison. She can't leave the house, but she escaped her prison and now she has her full magic. She's just kind of running around. And this is when the LEP recon, Commander Root gets kind of put out as a commander because like nothing's going right in a sense. And so they have someone else come up and goes like, hey, I am now acting as commander. The council has given me permission to do this. We're sending a troll in there to destroy the house, destroy the property, and to kill the humans. And Commander Root is like, well, what if it kills Holly? And they're like, well, this is something that the council is willing to risk because we cannot risk humans knowing about our existence, kind of thing. So Commander Root was like, you know what? You do what you need to do, but this will blow up in your face and you're not going to get a spot at the counselor's seat. So the troll goes in, and I was not expecting, like, it's not graphic, but it is kind of like, when you understand that this is a children's book, you're not expecting there to be near-death experiences in a children's book. You don't expect there to be talk of biobombs, politics. You're not expecting that. At least I wasn't expecting that. I had no idea what to expect. I'm going to keep saying that because, again, I didn't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect for the rest of the series, but love it. Absolutely love it. And the troll goes in, creating damage. The butler tries to fight it, and the butler gets thrown across the room against the wall, bleeding, probably paralyzed, most likely gonna die in the next 10 minutes. Holly comes running out because now the troll is focused on the maid, who is all magic-fied, thinking she's still watching the WWE tournament, not scared at all. The troll is about to kill her and eat her. Holly comes out, starts attacking the troll, blinds the troll with bright light. She gets thrown across the wall. Her lungs get crushed, but she has magic that starts healing her. But she got thrown right next to the butler, so she uses her magic to heal him because she's very sympathetic and empathetic like that. She doesn't want the humans to die. So the butler is healed. He's not paralyzed. He's not dying. He's like, oh my goodness. And so he's like, oh, but that troll thing is about to kill my younger sister, my baby sister. And I love it when siblings protect siblings in media. It's just, there's something about it, especially with like an older, younger sibling kind of thing. And so he goes off, he puts on like antique armor that was lying around the house. He like looks like a knight and all that. It's awesome. I'm really enjoying this book so much as I'm reading this. And he starts like fighting the troll. He starts slashing it at joints that he knows of, like, that would be like devastating for humans and stuff like that. And finally he gets his gun and he chases off by putting point blank between the eyes 10 rounds into the troll's face. That's not enough to kill it, but the troll's blinded, the troll's wounded, and runs out of the house back to the LEP recon. And it's just crazy and insane. So finally the fairies concede and it's like, all right, we'll send you the gold if you give us back Holly, kind of thing. So they send in the gold. Holly now gets to leave. Artemis stops her and goes like, hey, how much for a wish? Holly asks how much you got. Like, what are you willing to bargain for it? So then Holly then comes back to LEP recon with half the gold, and she's trying to be like, are we still going to biobomb? What's going to happen? They still biobomb. Artemis has in fact found a way to escape like the time stopper, to escape the biobomb, so they can't take back the rest of the gold like how they expected. But they're all like, what the heck was that? And we kind of find out that in order to escape the time stopper thing that they did, is that you have to be in a different state than when the time originally stopped. Like, if you were awake when time stopped, you're going to stay awake until time continues again. If you were asleep when time stopped, you will continue being asleep. But if you wake up while you were asleep while time stopped, or if you fall asleep while after time stopped, then you can leave the time area after that. What he did was that he knocked them all out, took them out of the time stop area, and then went back in after the biobomb went out. Because he outsmarted them, he gets to keep the rest of the gold now, and we find out what the wish was for. Artemis' father made a bad investment and got lost at sea when working on that investment. This is why he wants the gold, is that he wants to go back to that billionaire status, because now they're just millionaires. And his mother was so grief-stricken, she went mad and crazy. Like, she couldn't recognize her son. She propped up a pillow, put on like her husband's tux from their wedding. She put on her wedding dress and just completely lost her mind. Well, Artemis's wish was for Holly to heal his mother. And that's the ending of the book, is just kind of Artemis going like, we have the gold, we have like some of the fairy technology that we could do like patents on, and we could start selling that. And Holly Short is just like, I hate this kid, I want revenge, kind of thing. And then we get the epilogue, because there's an epilogue where the person, like same person from the prologue, is like, Artemis didn't want to heal his mother because he had sympathy or love for her. He healed her because CPS was at the door and he needed an adult guardian that wasn't the butler. And I just thought that was funny. I was like, no, clearly, like, in the book itself, Artemis wanted his mom back. Because that's something that he was very much of, like, kind of pushing down childish wants and needs. Which, again, reminds me of Damian Wayne, in a sense, like, for DC Batman. But anyway, that was the plot of the first book of the Artemis Fowl series. Let's get into my personal thoughts. I will say this, 4 out of 5 rating. I would highly recommend this to anyone. Like, doesn't matter that this is a children's book. This was fun. This was exciting. This was an easy read. It's only 280 pages. I really enjoyed this. I think other people would enjoy this as well. I kind of want to watch the movie now to see how well they did with this. Like, if it's this story or if it's a separate story, like one of the other books, or if they just went wild with it and completely disregarded this. I want to watch a movie of this. Like, I want to see a fairy getting kidnapped and being ransomed, and we have a hostage takeover. I love that. I want to see that in, like, a show, in a movie. I hope the Artemis Fowl movie, I just hope. I just have hope. It's probably misplaced hope, but I have hope nonetheless. Highly would recommend. 4 out of 5. Great world building. I feel like I didn't need someone to like hold my hand through it or give me long explanations of it all or anything like that. And even in the back of the book, we have like pictures of like the equipment that they're using. We have a guide to the gnomish, because throughout the book, at the bottom, you have like little gnomish at the bottom that you could translate, which I started doing for the first few pages, but I got so excited about this book, I just kind of kept on reading. And then they have a little bit of a spotter's guide of the characters and like the mythical creatures that you run into, which I thought was really interesting. Like, again, I feel like it didn't hold my hand through the world building. It was very subtle. It felt very natural. Like, yeah, this is just how the world is. Like, here's a little exposition here or there, but it's like a sentence long. Like, oh, here's a dwarf, you know, short, great at mining, can do this with its jaw. Awesome, great, moving on. I love that. I love it when world building isn't in your face, paragraphs of exposition. It's subtle, because in the real world, you don't explain to someone about the nuance of how the roads are made and the type of machine and material is used. That's not a normal everyday conversation. What you do is like, oh, hey, it's a road. Yeah, it's asphalt. Maybe it's concrete. Who knows? Come on, let's go. I love that as for world building. The concept of the story, a fairy getting kidnapped for fairy gold. I love it. I love it. I have not read a lot of books or seen a lot of media with concepts like that. Like, I've seen, and especially it's like such a human thing of like for gold, for money. Like, I really like it of just like someone wants gold, they're kidnapping a fairy for fairy gold in specific, because that would be more valuable. I love that. That's great. I can't think of anything else that is similar to that concept. I feel like it's genius. I might just be hyping up too much because I really like how this was executed. Great concepts are rarely ever executed well. This was executed well, and making it a children's book is even better. Like, this is amazing. I love this. But yeah, I have never heard of Artemis Fowl before. I've heard of the movie, but that didn't interest me because I knew nothing about it. And I didn't realize it was a book series until this was gifted to me by my grandmother. And some of the stuff in this book, for being a children's book, really did kind of throw me a little bit. Like the butler possibly dying, or if he survives, being paralyzed for the rest of his life. The biobomb being mentioned. The politics of like one person getting the council's approval to hopefully become part of the council seat. Like, some of that, like, it was background information, but it was still... I wasn't expecting it in a children's book. I love this. So, very clearly, I really did enjoy this book, and I really enjoyed this book. I do want to read the rest of the series, but next week's book is I have a different book to read next week. I can't talk with. I really enjoyed this book, and for book club, I'm going to put it on the screen somewhere. Here's going to be like the next 4 or 5 books that I'm going to be reading. I have a whole list of books, like I have 100 books. I have a full list of books I want to read, and I want you guys to read these books with me. So I read Artemis Fowl this week. I am reading A Dog's Purpose next week, and on the screen somewhere, I will put up the list of the next 4 or 5 books that I am reading. Hopefully you guys can read it with me too. And thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I will see you in the next chapter. Bye!